So welcome to the second lesson of Form 1, Topic 1, that is Introduction to Chemistry here. We have covered the first topic, and now we'll continue with the second part of this topic, which I am referring to as this Lesson 2. And in this lesson, we will be dealing with apparatus used in chemistry. So what are these apparatus? By the end of the lesson, you should be able to identify the various apparatus that are used in chemistry or in chemistry lab. And the advantage here is that you'll be able to see the way they look in real life or in the laboratory, not like the way they are drawn in the books. Then later on, you can check in the book how you can draw them, how you can present them on a book. Another advantage is that you can watch this lesson over and over in case you don't understand the first time. So that is, and I hope it is going to, this video is going to help you understand this topic. So we normally say that chemistry involves experiments. So you find that you'll be doing many experiments in when you're doing this subject known as chemistry. What do we use to do experiment? Experiments are done with the experiments are done using chemicals and apparatus. So we need chemicals to do experiment and apparatus. But in this particular lesson, we are going to look at or to focus more on the apparatus here. We run the apparatus that are used in the laboratory. They are done in the laboratory. They are performed in the laboratory. Maybe now that you have joined Form 1, you have seen the laboratory labeled at the door or a room in school where experiments are performed. So what is a laboratory? We say a laboratory is a building. A laboratory is a building or a special room where chemicals and apparatus are kept. Where chemicals and apparatus are kept. This is where the experiments are performed. This is where experiments are performed. So this is where you do your experiment with your chemistry teacher in the laboratory. Some apparatus are used for, so we can say some apparatus are used for heating. Apparatus are used for heating. that is for heating. We can call it source of heat. Source of heat. We are going to look at some of these apparatus that are source of heat. Then other apparatus measure or are used for measurement. What are these apparatus? We are going to look at that. Measurement of volume. So we use some apparatus to measure volume. Okay. Others we measure temperature. Then we have others. We measure mass. And others, and also time. So we are going to look at this apparatus one by one, how they look like, and how we use them. Okay. From there, we are going to look at the nature of apparatus. So you say nature of some apparatus. And what do we mean? We say containers and so we say most apparatus are one, containers and reaction vessels. Containers and reaction vessels. So these are, okay, we have containers that are used to keep reagents or chemicals, and others are used to perform the reaction. We are going to look at that. Most of the apparatus are made of glass, or plastics. So most of these apparatus in the lab, especially the containers and reaction vessels, they are made of plastics. Why are they made of plastics? To help observe, they help to observe reactions, to help observe reactions. Why do they help to observe the reaction? Because they are transparent. You can see transparent. You can see through them, so you can be able to see what is happening inside. Another property is that plastic and glass do not react with the most reagent. We say do not react with most reagents, which we can say, we can use just chemicals. So that is also important, chemicals used in the lab. So that is also very important because they will not affect the outcome of experiment. If you use something, some material that will react with these chemicals, then the result will not be accurate because there will be addition of other substances which will change the reaction. So that is the nature why we have most, as we are going to see them, That is why most of them, especially those that are used to store and those which are used to do the experiment, for example, heating and so forth, are made of glass or plastics. So from there, we look at, we have mentioned the laboratory. So let's have a look at some of the laboratories you may experience. So these are pictures of laboratories. For example, the first one, you can see we have a bench with drawers and cabinet. This is where you can store some of the apparatus and chemicals. We have stools which you can use when you are maybe doing an experiment or attending a class in the lab. You can see we have a water system, water tap there. This is gas system. We have this equipment maybe for hanging something. So this is we have cabinets there for storage. This is a lab. So we have a sink here. So those are the features that you may find in an ordinary laboratory. This is some students or people doing experiments. You can see the apparatus that we are talking about. Some of this we'll be discussing them. You can see they are wearing eyeglasses, protective, we call them protective gear, protective glasses. This is because some of the chemicals or some gas fumes can affect our eyes and destroy our eyes. So that is why they have done. So this is a sample of a student doing experiment. Here we have a gentleman here. In our first lesson, we talked of careers that are in chemistry as a result of chemistry. So this could be a chemistry teacher or a lab technician, something like that. He's in a room where you can see there are chemicals and apparatus in here. So we have this room. We have a room in the laboratory that is called preparation room. And this is where you find the lab technician and the teacher may be doing their work here, preparing for the experiments that you'll be doing. Okay, this is another picture here showing cabinets. Some of them they have signs of danger rather. So some chemicals are dangerous and therefore they are kept safe away where they cannot be. It is not easy to get them. Remember, some chemicals are even fatal. They can kill. They can harm your body. For example, the skin. If you inhale some gases, they will affect your body. So that is why they are kept safe. This is another modern laboratory. So in your school, maybe you have come across a room, a building labeled laboratory. In advanced school, they may have more than one laboratory. That is one laboratory for chemistry, another one for physics, another one for biology, and maybe another one for agriculture. In some schools, they may have only one laboratory to be used by all the to do the experiments in chemistry, physics, and biology. And maybe you may not find this kind of advanced laboratory, and maybe the reason is because we are in developed countries or developing countries, where we are considered poor, unlike in advanced countries. But we are not poor. It's only that our resources have been mismanaged for a long time. Those people, the politicians and some other people who you find driving big cars, buying choppers, helicopters. Some of this money is obtained through corruption. So I think next time, if you become a voter, make sure you don't vote a corrupt leader, so that our future generation can have something, laboratories of this nature. Maybe you can also advise your parents that when they go to vote, they vote for leaders who are honest. Anyway, that is by the way. From there, let's look at apparatus that are used to measure volume. Apparatus used to measure volume. So apparatus that are used to measure volume, they are made of transparent glass or plastic. I have mentioned that plastic. Why? The reason being, you will be able to observe what is happening, or the reaction that is taking place. So these apparatus include, these apparatus for measuring volume include apparatus used to measure volume, they include graduated beaker. We can say A. We have graduated beaker or flask. Graduated means that you can be able to see the scale. Let's say we are going to see that this is let's say this is a beaker. Let's do that properly. Let's say this is a beaker, so you can see the scale here. I think you can give an example of those containers, those beakers that are used to measure milk. If you go to the shop, you find they have a container that if you want to buy half a liter or so, they use that. So that's also an apparatus for measuring volume. So we have measuring cylinder, let's correct that, cylinder. Measuring cylinder. We have, say, volumetric flask, we have they. I'm putting plural because they may be of different sizes. We have silage, similar to the one you get that the nurses use to give injection. We have syringes. We have A. We have another apparatus known as pipette. We are going to see how it looks like. We have EF. We have another one we called burette. We have a look at the way they look. So we say each of these apparatus has a specific use. Each of these apparatus has specific use. You can put here, you say each of these apparatus have specific use. Why am I saying that? You may use a measuring cylinder to measure volume. You may use syringes, but at a different situation. So that is what we'll be looking at. were in this particular area. So from there, let's have a look at how do beakers look like. In beakers, we have conical flask. Okay, we have beakers, we have conical flask, we have measuring cylinder, we have volumetric flask, which may be of different sizes. Okay, these are beakers. This is a beaker. This is grass. This is made of grass. Also, this one is grass. This is plastic. This is plastic also. So we have said that they are made. So you can see why I was talking of transparency. You can see inside these beakers there is a blue solution inside, so we can be able to see what is inside, and that is why most of them are made of grass and plastic, which are transparent. So from there we are going to look at some of the apparatus that are found in the laboratory. So this is so we have we have seen beakers. This is conical flask. So that is what we call conical flask. You find such in the laboratory. You see it is graduated. It has measurement. So if you put a solution inside, you will be able to measure. Then we have what we call measuring cylinder. Measuring cylinder. Cylinder. So you will be able also to see this apparatus. It is used to measure volume. So they are of different sizes depending on the experiment that you are doing. So you choose the appropriate size. This is a volumetric flask. This is a volume flask. So you also be able to see this in the laboratory. They are used to measure volume. Then they are of different sizes. So that's why I'm saying volumetric flask, depending on the experiment that you are doing. And they have a cap to cover the mouth or the top there. From there, because they can also be used to store chemicals. This is what we are referring to as syringes, not C but S, syringe. They may be of different size. So this is the upper part. This is the injecting part. Some of them may be having plastic ending points. Some may have needles. So these are the syringes. They are used in the laboratory. This is what we call pipette. And pipette, we have two types. This you use, we can use this one to suck a certain amount of chemical. We can use this one to transfer. So this is called transfer pipette. This is volumetric pipette. As you advance, you'll be using this to do experiment. This is what we call burette. This is a burette. It also measures. It is graduated and it has a controlling knob here, or a tap kind of thing, where you can open for the liquid to come down, and you can be able to measure the amount that you want. So that is what we call a burette. Let's continue. So here we have said that there are other apparatus in the laboratory that are used to measure other units or other quantities. Like this is a thermometer. This is a thermometer. or thermometers. They are of different type. Could maybe you can get, but generally of this kind. Not the one that are used. The others that are used in the hospital, but mostly in the laboratory you find this kind of thermometers. Then from there we have mass. So we have mass. We use weighing balance. Weighing balance, and we have several types. So this is what we call beam balance. Beam balance, you find that in the laboratory. So you can place your chemical here or whatever you are measuring, then you can balance here. This is an electronic balance. Electronic balance. Electronic balance. So you place your rod here and you'll be able to observe. So in most cases, the electronic balances are very accurate. They are digital. Then we have top pan. Top pan balances. I was not able to get analog, but this is, you can see this is a rod to be measured, and it is also digital. But I think the old ones are slightly not available. And you'll find that in most schools now, they are using the electronic balances because they are very accurate and you are taking measurement. And you remember in chemistry, when doing experiment, sometimes you need to measure very small quantities to do the experiment. Okay, let's have a look at other apparatus. These are apparatus that are used to measure time, and we have, this is analog. I'm sure you analog stopwatch. So we use watches to measure time. We use watches and clocks. Watches and clocks. So this is analog. This is what we call this is an analog stopwatch. And this is a digital stopwatch. So maybe you have seen during games, the athletes they get their time using the digital, mostly digital clock. But earlier, the analog stopwatches were very popular. But currently, because the digital stopwatches have become available and cheaper, you find that they are commonly used. So we use that to measure time. From there, let's have a look at other apparatus that are found in the laboratory. Okay. Other apparatus. This is a test tube. It is used in the laboratory for general use. This is a test tube. It's also transparent. We also have a test tube here that have a blue solution, and this is called test tube rack or test tube rack. That we are going to have a look at that. So a test. This is used for general use. General use, for example, holding chemicals and so forth, different solutions and so forth. This one here is a boiling tube. Boiling tube. As you can see, it is being used to boil a substance here, and there are some smoke coming out, or fumes. So the boiling tube is used for heating substances, used for heating substances. So that is the use of the boiling point. This one is referred to as trough. The trough is used used to hold water, used to hold water, especially when you are collecting gas, especially when collecting gas. Do not worry so much about it, as you'll be using these apparatus in the lab, so possibly you understand more. From there, we look at this one is around bottom flask. The round bottom flask is used for heating liquids. Used for heating liquids. It is used for heating liquids, and when you are heating, this is because heat is uniformly distributed, so that it does not crack. We have another. This is round. This is flat. Bottom flask. So the difference is that this one is round and this one is flat. The flat is used for general use, like holding chemicals, for general use, like holding chemicals and so forth. Then we have filter funnel. Filter funnel. Okay, this one is used for delivering liquids, in delivering liquids in that is in liquids carefully in what we call into vessels for that have narrow mouth. For example, if you want to pour a liquid in this particular bottom flask, you can use this so that you are accurate, you don't pour, because in the laboratory you will be dealing with chemicals, some of which you need to be careful when handling them. So it is also used for, if you put we also have some when we put a filter paper here, we can be able to filter a mixture and separate. I think we saw that in our first lesson. So let's continue to see other. So you can see now, you can be able to identify these apparatus, because this is the way they look in the laboratory. So let's continue. So here we have this is called distal funnel. This is called distal. Distal funnel is also used to delivering liquids, for delivering liquids. So just like we have mentioned the filter funnel. This one here is known as separating funnel. Separating funnel. I didn't want, I use this diagram to demonstrate its work. It is used to separate immiscible liquids. For example, here we have oil and water. Oil and water does not mix, or oil does not dissolve in water. You can see they are separate liquids. So if you want to separate this, you open this tap here, and water will come out. You'll be left with the oil. So it is the separating. This is a separating funnel used to separate immiscible. This is immiscible liquids like oil and water. So that is the work of the separating funnel, and I think we also saw that in our first lesson. Then we have this one, which we call dropping funnel. Dropping funnel. The dropping funnel, it is different from this funnel. You see it has a tap here. So the tap is used to control the amount to go into another container. So it is this one, we can say it add controlled amount of liquid into reaction vessel. So this one is not just for adding. For example, if you want to add 10 millimeters, you'll be able to or a certain drop by drop, you'll be able to control using the tap here. Then this one is known as reagent bottle. Bottle, and you'll be able to see them in the lab, used to store reagents. That is the use of the reagent bottle. So that is that. Then we go and let's go ahead and see some more apparatus. This is called wash bottle. The wash bottle is used to hold water. For rinsing, and narrow. This is a narrow bottled container. So it is very rare to have a chemistry practical without the wash bottle. So what you do is you press here, and the water will come out of there. So you'll be able, you see this narrow ending, you'll be able to pour water into a narrow bottle top container. Then from there we have this one is called test pipette. So this is a test pipette. You can see it is graduated, so you can be able to, and it has a sucker. This is a sucker here. So you'll be able to draw a certain amount of chemical or reagent and deliver it to another place drop by drop. So we can say the use of this is delivering liquids drop by drop or dropwise. So that is the use of test pipette. We have another apparatus here. This is called evaporating dish. Evaporating dish, and just like the name suggests, it is used to evaporate liquid, used to evaporate. This is A, evaporate liquids. Okay. This is called spatula. Spatula. It is a metallic apparatus that is used. This one is used for scooping solid from containers. Scooping solids from containers. You'll be able, so you can see they have different sizes and sometimes different. So you can see at the end, you can be able to put in a container and scoop small amounts of solids or chemical in solid form. So let's go on and see some more apparatus. This is called gas jar. This is called gas jar. The gas jar is used for collecting gas. So it is for collecting gas produced in an experiment. From there we have a desiccator. So this apparatus is used to keep or to dry or keep free from moisture. So we say to dry or keep free from moisture. So if you can see there are substances here that absorb moisture. So if you want to keep something dry, you use this desiccator. The other one is known as crucible. Crucible is used for heating substances that require strong heat. For heating substances that require strong heating. So that is the work of the crucible apparatus. We have this one. This one is known as pipe cray triangle. Pipe cray triangle. The pipe tray triangle supports crucibles. It is used to support. So this is support crucible during heating. Crucible during, no, let's correct that. During heating. Remember, we have said that crucible is used when a substance require strong heating. So this pipe clay triangle is the one that is used to support this. That is, you place your crucible on top of this one on a Bunsen burner. We are going to look at that. So let's see more of this. This one is known as wire gauge. Wire gauge. This one is used to placed on top of Bunsen burner or source of heat to evenly distribute heat when heating. That is when heating beakers or flasks or substances in beakers and flasks. So it is placed on top of the tripod, which is our next apparatus. So the reason why we need to distribute heat when we are heating using beakers is that if the heat is concentrated on one point, then it is likely to expand and break. So that's why we need the wire gauge to distribute. This is known as tripod. The tripod is used to support beaker. So you place this is placed here, and then you can place your beaker on top. So instead of holding, because sometimes it may get hot, you are not able to hold. So this one support beaker and flask. And flask during heating. So that is the work of the tripod. Then from tripod we have another apparatus here, which we call mortar and pestle. This is mortar and pestle. So this is the mortar. So this is the pestle. So this apparatus is used to crush substances into smaller pieces or into powder. So that is the use of mortar and pestle. This one is known as test tube holder. Test tube, not test tube holder, test tube rack. It is used, I think we saw a picture. So you place we saw a picture of a test tube rack when you are starting, when you are looking at the test tube. So you place your test tube here. So the work of this is to hold test tube. Maybe we say that test tube are used for general use. So you may have one test tube holding one chemical, another one holding some water, another one like that. So, and this is made of wood. But nowadays you can also get there are also test tube rack that are made of plastics. So these you'll be able also to see them. So we say hold boiling test tube. Test tube. And boiling tubes. Remember, the test tube is round bottom, so you cannot place it on the table. The same case applies to boiling tubes, and so we use this one to avoid them falling down and pouring chemicals. So let's go ahead and see some more. We have this is called defragging spoon. Defragging, defragrating. Not the spelling. Defragrating spoon. So this is a spoon there, and this one is used for holding substances being burnt. So you place your substance here and you can burn. This is to protect you from the heat. So we say holds substances hold some being burnt. So that is the work of defragrating spoon. This is known as tongs. The tongs are used to safely hold corrosive, corrosive or hot solids. So there are some substances you can't hold with your hands. Some can even burn you. So you use this apparatus, tongs, to hold them. You can also use them to hold hot solids, so you will not be burnt. This is known as a test tube holder. Tube holder. The test tube holder, so if you press this one and this one, then this will open and you can put your test tube here. So that is how it holds the test tube. So it's called a test tube holder. And finally we have this is what we call cramp and stand. Cramp and stand. So this is a cramp and this is a stand. Also a very common apparatus in the lab. So the cramp is used to hold other apparatus, like even a test tube. For example, when you are heating, you measuring cylinder, burette, especially in Form 3, you'll be doing experiments where you'll be required to use burette to measure certain quantities. So that is a cramp and stand. So these are some of the apparatus that you find in the laboratory. I have tried to cover most of them, but still we may have several that I have not managed to to discuss or to explain, but generally these are the ones that you find in a chemistry lab, or the ones that you'll be using in most cases when you are doing experiments. So I hope you have followed. So maybe when you go to the laboratory, you will be able to identify this apparatus, or the teacher will be able to show you this apparatus. So when you get into the lab where these apparatus are stored, you can now be able to identify them as I have shown them. So we'll stop there. Then what we are going to look next is sources of heat. So we need heat in the laboratory because some experiments that we'll be doing requires heat. Where do we get heat from? So let's have a look at sources of heat. We have several sources of heat, and the most common source of heat is this one. This is known as Bunsen burner. Bunsen burner. The Bunsen burner is an instrument. We use it to connect to the gas. So the gas get into that point, and we have our frame here. And it is very common in most schools. So we are going to discuss further how the Bunsen burner operates. But before we do that, let's have a look at other sources of heat. This is another source of heat. It is called spirit lamp. Spirit lamp. Not very common, but you may find it in some labs. Another source of heat is candle. Candle is common in the lab. Even in our home, we use it for domestic use as a source of light. But in the laboratory, you may also use it. You use it as a source of heat. Possibly, if there is no electricity, no gas, you can use a candle to still do an experiment. After the candle, we have a gas stove. Like I mentioned in the beginnings, in some schools you may not have the gas system to connect to Bunsen burner. So these are portable gas stove. Again, the advantage of this one is portable. This is a container, so you keep on changing the container, just like we change domestic gas. Once it exhausts, we change the burner, and we bring in another cylinder. Another advantage of this is that the teacher can take it to class and do an experiment, especially where we have a large class, or they don't have a lab that has enough space for a large class. So the teacher can do an experiment in class. This is a kerosene stove. Just like the one that we use at home for domestic use for cooking, it can also be used in the laboratory for heating. Then we have electric heater. So this one uses electricity. It makes this pan here hot, so you can place whatever you want to heat on top of this pan, and you'll be able to heat. So that brings us to the end of this lesson. I hope you have followed. If you did not watch lesson 1, you can go and check. It is available. And then you subscribe and hit the alarm bell, so that when I produce my next lesson, you'll be alerted if at all you enjoy that lessons, this kind of lessons. So that's the end. In our third lesson, we are going to explore further how the Bunsen burner works. So that's what we'll be doing, explore how a Bunsen burner works. So that's the end of that lesson. I hope you have enjoyed.